Sharon is the only child. As a child, as a baby, she always was bubbling, loving. She had that charisma about herself. And she's just a joyful child, and that's the way I tried to bring her up.
Sharon is, like I said earlier, she's bubbly, she's vibrant, still to this day. Sharon is an excellent purpose, she's God-fearing. She goes out of her way for someone that she doesn't even know.
She is a very vibrant person, very magnetic, draws a lot of people to her, and she and I have always just kind of, I think, support each other in our friendship, and a lot of positivity and so forth. So
we say that Sharon is the face of lupus.
You can't be a wimp and live with lupus.
She's an excellent person all the way around, and I like what she's doing here at the Lupus Alliance, putting lupus bigger on the scene that it was and bringing awareness to this epidemic.
And they'll find a cure for lupus one day.
Started to get very ill my sophomore year in college. I went to college in Florida A&M University.
When she was first sick, she was living in Florida at the time, and so she and I just talked by phone, and she told me about some of the things that were happening to her.
A lot of stomach pains, Would go to the emergency room very often, and they would just pass me around because they didn't know what to do with me. I was initially diagnosed with having Crohn's disease. Then doctors agreed upon irritable bowel syndrome. Neither one of those panned out, and it wasn't until my family came down for graduation in December of '01. My mother looked at me and she goes, "Sharon, what's wrong with your face?" My mother and I, we play a lot. And so I looked at her and I said, "Well, Mom, what's wrong with your face?" And she's like, "No, really. Your face is breaking out." My eyebrows, my nose, and my ears had turned this color. But I had never noticed it. I guess just the stress of school and wanting to do the best on my finals and trying to find jobs and get all my family down to Florida from Michigan for graduation, it was just too much. So it started manifesting, in my face.
And when she did tell me that she had lupus, and I said, "What is lupus?" She said, "Well, it affects my kidney organs, and you had the butterfly rash," and she said that my joints and her fingers and her feet and her knees, those things was really painful for her.
1 in every 185 Americans have lupus, so it's estimated between 1.5 and 2 million people in the United States have lupus. 9 out of 10 are diagnosed with lupus are women, so it's much more prevalent in women. However, men get lupus, children get lupus, and senior citizens get lupus as well. Lupus is usually diagnosed in the ages between 15 and 45, usually when a woman is going through early stages of puberty or going into their childbearing years. In the women of color and the African American community, 1 in every 60 people have lupus, so it's much more prevalent.
To me, lupus is just as serious as cancer, and it really doesn't get as much attention as those other chronic diseases do.
And so February 4th of 2002, my doctor, my dermatologist, called me and said that you have both discoid and systemic lupus. I have lupus of the skin and lupus of the blood.
Sharon has a degree in journalism and has worked continuously since her graduation from Florida A&M in 2001, first as a flight attendant and later in an office. Suddenly, her lupus flare-up meant that she found herself unable to work at all, forced to move from her Florida home and return to her mother's Michigan home. The lupus symptoms caused an unwanted transformation in Sharon, from being an independent young woman to needing a caregiver.
When she had a fever, I'd had to put alcohol, to keep the fever down, whatever the case might be. Sometimes I had to sleep with her because she'd be in pain. And the body heat, that's what I'm trying to say, maybe the heat will comfort some of the pain that she was going through. Her hair came out. She couldn't walk. And I had to assist her in her walk, and when she couldn't walk, I had to bring, her food to the bed for her, things like that, and go get medicine and for her. And make sure she took her medicine, take her to doctor's appointment, things like that.
When I saw her after she had lupus, it was very difficult sometimes to look at her because her skin was, the lupus had just affected her skin. She had lost, she had lost her hair. The medication had bloated her and so forth. And but Sharon is the kind of person you come in and you see it, you know, and then she's saying like to herself, get over it, you know. Then we just started talking about different things.
I remember one day I was sitting on my mom's bed and I was just, you know, just doing this, and came out with just a handful of hair. And I remember just screaming.
Sharon is somebody who's really, she's a very magnetic, very strong, very vibrant person. She's the life of the party. She's gorgeous, you know, she's got a very big personality. And I remember, I think maybe the first time I saw her in person while she was sick was when she had to come home, and I had visited her at home. It was just hard, even to see her just laying in bed and we're visiting and she's in bed.
So no sooner than I was diagnosed, we began treatment. I was placed on Plaquenil. That's what they give to people with malaria. And also prednisone, that's, you know, steroid. And almost immediately the hair started falling out.
Because the symptoms and the course of disease are unique to each person with lupus, it doesn't seem as if a medication magic bullet will be developed. However, lupus research has lagged behind that of other diseases, with the last new medication for lupus developed during the Eisenhower administration more than 50 years ago.
So my Aunt Helen called, and she heard me crying. And my mother told her what happened, and I'll never forget my auntie said, Sharon, you stop crying. It's just hair. We'll buy you some more hair. We'll get you a nice Beverly Johnson. You stop crying about hair, girl. And from that, Auntie Helen made it okay. If all my hair fell out, I can get a wig. It was okay.
Lupus changed Sharon's life, and so did a t-shirt.
We're an organization that helps people with lupus and their family members, especially newly diagnosed or people who have been diagnosed for years, come to us. Sharon walked in the door one day in this office, and she came in, it was a summer day, and she had a big brimmed hat on and was covered up from the sun. And she came to the office to buy a t-shirt. She had seen on our website that we had these special t-shirts, and so she wanted one. And she told me that she had a journalism background. And then she started to explain to me her story, how she'd been living in Florida, and her lupus had gone into a flare, and so she had moved back to Michigan and currently wasn't working. And I said, wow. I said, why don't you send me your resume? And the next day I got her resume via email, and about 2 days later I had her on the phone. I said, why don't you come and do some work with us?
So Sharon Harris became the public relations specialist for the Lupus Alliance of Michigan and Indiana.
She's just a great ambassador for the organization. Whenever she's out there working for us, we know that we can be safe in the fact that she has the heart of this organization and everything that she does and says.
You know, it may sound crazy to some people, but I am okay with going through because I know that I'm covered. You know, I'm not going to go through anything that God isn't going to be with me through.
She's smart, she's powerful, she is inspiring, she's my best friend, and even though she has lupus, lupus isn't her life.
Sharon has lupus, I have lupus, her mother has lupus. Sharon has it physically, but mentally we all have lupus because we're in it together.
We didn't let lupus claim my daughter. We defeated that. Lupus didn't have her. We prayed over the issue, and some days was good, and her good days outweighed her bad days.
If we could find a cure, that would be the dream for my life.
This is my test, so I don't complain. I take it and do my best by it, and know that I'm working on behalf of people who have passed away from this terrible disease. I meet people almost daily who've lost people to lupus. So I'm just continuing on that fight for them and for their families to get awareness out there so people will know what's really going on.